Hi, I'm Dave Seaver of Mind Alive Inc. I'm going to show you how we take a simple product design and we build it into an eventual brain machine as an end product. The very first stages of designing any product is to collect information from our distributors, perhaps from QEEGs that we've done or biofeedback data. And so we start building the concept as to how this device will interface with our customers and so on. What will it do? How will the buttons work? What indicator lights will be present, and so on. And the very first stages of designing a product is to determine what electronics are required to fulfill that result that will be in the final product. And to do that, we pick the microcontroller we're going to use, what jacks we might use, buttons, LED indicator lights, and so on. Once we decide roughly what electronics are going to go into the product, we then take the parts and we drop them onto this prototyping board. This prototyping board has hundreds of rows of little metal strips. We have a partial layout of a Delight system on this board that was done a couple years ago. Once we have a basic system going and we've drawn on pieces of paper what the general circuit, well, then we have to take that circuit and we have to put it onto the CAD system. These are the type of parts we put down on the boards. You can see some of them are very tiny. These very, very tiny ones are resistors and capacitors. This is operational amplifiers, digital analog converter, and so on. And these are what's going to go on the board. And what we can see here is they all have these little metal edges on them. And this is the microcontroller I just showed you earlier with all those little fingers sticking out. And when I flip it upside down, you can actually see the fingers here. So on our circuit board, I will draw tiny little pads that will line up with these fingers, and that's where the solder will go. Once we have our drawing pretty much finished on paper, then we draw it up on the CAD system, and this we must do in order to make a circuit board. This is our official drawing and engineering record of what we're doing. And every part has pads associated with it, or an actual structure. Here's an op amp, for instance, and these are the actual pads these little fingers are going to solder right onto the circuit board. You'll see this later when I show you the circuit board. What's the circuit board going to look like now that we transfer the schematic to the circuit board? There's a little process where we have to take the schematic and we have to do what's called make a net list. And the net list is literally a connection list of all the shapes of the parts and all the wires that they are connected to. Okay, so when we go into the circuit board editor, it drops all these little parts, as we can see here. The resistors, capacitors, the microcontroller is up here, and so on. And we first start off by placing our jacks right here on the side, and they are in red because they mount on the back side of the board. Here are our switches, our tone select, our volume, our intensity, power, and our different function or category selectors, the energize, the meditate, brain booster, mood booster, and sleep. And so we have to get those placed first. It's hard to imagine that all those parts are actually going to go on that little circuit board. This is the final assembly, and that's it. And that, believe it or not, is what turns out to be. We take these files, we shoot them off to a printed circuit board manufacturer, and we right now for our pick and place machine we have them made 6 on a pallet. And this is the front side with this is how it would line up, and that's how we get from design to a circuit board. And you can see all the little silver pads which are going to correlate with all our little parts. These are a bunch of delights here, and we build them in, of course, in quantities for the sake of being more efficient. And these are just being right now mounted into the cases. They've been pre-programmed already with the firmware. They're being dropped into these cases, and then the panels will be put on, and then they will be put into, they'll be programmed with the sessions as the final stage, and then tested. Voila, we have an end product. Thank you very much for listening to my little presentation from inception to final product. Hope you find it enjoyable, enlightening, and educational. Thank you, and goodbye.